It's not the average age of Safety Harbor. Yeah. I think is everybody ready? Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of Monday, October 16th. At this time, I would like to call the Reverend Dan Harrington forward to lead us in the invocation. So if everyone will please stand up and remain standing for the pledge to the flag.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let us pray. Father, we are grateful with an attitude of thanks to be able to gather in freedom at this city council meeting here tonight in Safety Harbor, Florida. Lord, we're thankful for many things. We Floridians for a cooler time after a historically warm summer. And Lord, whether we are here, as I know many of us are, to celebrate and to recognize, or whether we are here to criticize and debate, Lord, I pray that we will be able to do it with civility and respect, with not just the offices that have been elected in this city, but for the men and women that have served so faithfully for so long in this city of Safety Harbor. Lord, be with us during this time, and we're thankful for this time. And I pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend. Alrighty, so we got a packed house today. We're going to go through a couple presentations and then move on from there. The first item on the agenda is a National Friends of the Library presentation of a proclamation. So can I ask anyone from the Friends of the Library or the library staff to come forward?
You want all of them?
Sure. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, then I'll come down and present it to you all. Again, this is a proclamation in recognition of National Friends of Library Week. Whereas Friends of Safety Harbor Public Library raised money to help our library move from good to great, providing additional funding resources for programming, support for reading programs, and special events throughout the year. In the work of the Friends emphasizes our library is a cornerstone of the community, providing opportunities for lifelong learning, cultural events, and literacy. And Friends understands that the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of diverse services for all ages. And Friends' gift of their time and commitment to the library sets an example for all how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. Now, therefore, I, Joe A., Mayor of the City of Safety Harbor, and on behalf of the Commission, do hereby proclaim October 15th to the 21st as National Friends of Libraries Week in Safety Harbor, and urge everyone to join the Friends of the Library and thank them for all they do to make our library and community shine. So how about a round of applause for everyone that's serving? Anybody wish to say a few words before I come down and present the proclamation?
This is our president, Lisa Lane, our vice president, what's her name again? Our past VP, Jim Taylor, what's your name? Rick Saladin, and our treasurer, or longtime treasurer, is Chuck. Chuck. Membership chair. Oh yes, Madeline. Last fiscal year, the Friends donated goods and services, almost $22,000. And that makes our library go from great to excellent. It just puts the icing on the cupcakes that make our programs over the top for kids, adults, and all ages. They also give a $15,000 scholarship to a not $15,000, $1,500 scholarship to a volunteer that has volunteered over 75 hours in their career at the library. They do a lot. Next week, right across the street on the 24th, is a membership event at Giggle Waters, so just join us for a cocktail, and the first 32 members or new members that come can watch a movie, and it's Moonstruck, one of my favorites. So I'm going to leave these at the door. Here are membership applications. It's like the PTA. Sometimes we just want your money, $15 a person. For annual, you don't have to do a thing. Or if you feel like doing something, we have all kinds of committees that you can join and help with. The next book sale is December 9th, so come on out. The membership event is next Tuesday across the street, as I said, and we have a basket fundraiser coming up in early November, right before the holidays, with lots of good stuff you can take a chance on for only $1 ticket. So I think I covered everything, but we couldn't be as great as we are without them. So I thank them from the bottom of my heart. In case you want to become a member.
I'm a lifetime member. I hold out my hand.
But thank you very much.
We gotta take a picture
Who
for
wants to accept the proclamation?
Lisa will. She's our president.
President, you want to gather around for a picture?
It'd be nice.
Usually we're in the stacks.
Thank you all, appreciate it. All right, so do we have anyone from Hope Villages of America here? Perhaps Melinda Perry? Oh, well, you may not be Melinda, but we'll take it. All right. So the next presentation is a Domestic Violence Awareness Month proclamation for October of 2023. And I'll go ahead and read this and give you a chance to say a few words. Whereas domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain power and control over their intimate partner. And the problems of domestic abuse are not confined to any one group of people, but affect people across all economic statuses, races, and ethnicities, sexual orientations, cultures, and societies. And the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and/or abuse. And the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging, directly affecting women, children, men, and society as a whole. And Hope Villages of America has provided support, safety, and advocacy to domestic violence survivors and their children throughout Pinellas County for more than 50 years. Now, therefore, I, Joe Ayu, Mayor of the City of Safety Harbor, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim October 2023 to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So thank you for coming out. Can you just tell us your name? And
Yeah, my name is John Long. I'm the Vice President of Abuse Services at Hope Villages. Like you said, we've been around for 50 years, and I appreciate Safety Harbor stepping up and saying we stand against domestic violence. Oftentimes, we don't want to talk about it. It doesn't happen in our community or our neighborhood. It happens somewhere else, but we know it's happening everywhere. We serve hundreds of women and men who have been victims of domestic violence. Our shelter is a 36-bed facility, and oftentimes half the people in our care are under the age of 5 years old. So we know that this is something that's happening, and our goal is to stop it. And how do we stop it? We start at a very young age. One of the things we're most proud of is we have a education for elementary school kids on what does domestic violence look like. Use your words, not your hands. Find a safe space. Just teaching kids that that's not the norm. And so, again, appreciate Safety Harbor for signing this proclamation. We challenge businesses, churches, other organizations to step up and say, we're not going to keep this in the dark. It's something we're going to talk about. It's something we have to raise awareness about, not just domestic violence, but we also work in the human trafficking realm as well. And we know that that's an issue within our community. So again, thank you for signing it, and we
Thank
hope
you.
other cities will step up as well.
Thank you. I'm going to come down and present this to you. Now we have a years of service recognition for Tim Sattinger. Tim, would you like to come forward? We're celebrating 25 years of you being with the city. Whatever you want. You can rotate. So I'm going to go ahead and read some nice things about you, come down and present you with a certificate, and give you a chance to say a few words. So tonight we celebrate Tim's 25 years with the city, but in actuality, Tim has been a Safety Harbor public servant for 31 years. Tim began his service with the city in 1992 as a recreation leader 2 at the community center until he elected to explore other opportunities. After a brief stint in the private sector, Tim returned to the city in 1998 in the same capacity, but retitled to a recreation program coordinator overseeing athletic programs in the after-school drop-in program at the REC, Old School Community Center. Over the next few years, Tim's success witnessed many changes, with the largest being the community center expansion in 2003. The expanded space provided the perfect venue to increase the ever-popular youth basketball program, a program that began in the early 90s with the play at the community center and Long Center and still continues today stronger than ever. The Youth Basketball League is rivaled by other cities due to the level of play achieved, top-notch volunteer coaches, and overall program organization, all Tim's efforts and accomplishments. In 2019, the opening of the fitness center expanded Tim's reach further with fitness offerings for all ages. So now fast forward to 2023, and Tim's current duties as a recreation supervisor continued to be devoted to athletics, fitness, and now pickleball. We got people from pickleball here tonight. Go figure. Tim brought pickleball to Safety Harbor. So we're giving Tim all the credit here. So Tim brought pickleball to Safety Harbor.
I did.
We got commissioners that may want to take some of that. All right, so Tim brought pickleball to Safety Harbor and has grown the sport through leagues, open play, and tournaments. He is a department expert on the rules, venues, and is especially excited about the new courts coming to Marshall Street Park, in which he lives across the street. His passion for athletics, did you make that happen like that? So you just didn't know what was going on there. His passion for athletics, fitness, and pickleball and their importance is evident through his continued programming offerings, connection with the community, and personal endeavors. Outside of work, Tim has been coaching youth and high school football for over 20 years, combined with being a certified high school football official, all exhibit his commitment. He has become a top-notch pickleball player, interesting, and often playing at various venues on his free time. He lives strong in family and faith by participating in various mission trips, supporting medical initiatives to underprivileged countries, and locally always ready to lend a caring heart or helping hand to someone in need. So tonight we celebrate Tim's overall tenure with the city and thank him for his dedication, professionalism, and commitment to the residents of Safety Harbor, especially the youth, and to the leisure services team. So congratulations on 25 plus years with the city of Safety Harbor.
I'm very blessed to have been working here for 31 years. I've got to know all the FAR trained with most of you and got to know you personally. We have great leadership here for the city of Safety Harbor. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here for 31 years if it wasn't for the leadership in this town. I love it, and I'm very blessed, like I said, to live here and work here. Thank you for the 31 years.
Thank you for the 31 years. certificate, and I forgot to mention, we have a gift certificate for you. I don't know exactly what it is, but I can just for you. All right, so now we have the Christopher Palmieri Employee of the Second Quarter for 2023. The winner being Miss Jensen Perry is, there she is. All right, I like that.
Well, I think Recreation Day too, so thank you guys.
There you go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just read some nice things about you, then come down and present you with this plaque. So Jensen has been a resident of Safety Harbor since the age of 8. She first began working for the city part-time in the community center in 2011 while still in high school. She quickly became a familiar face to many of our residents and their children, and remains so now. This is Jensen's second time receiving the City of Safety Harbor's Employee of the Quarter Award. In the spring of 2013, she became the first part-time employee to receive this honor. In 2016, she transferred to City Hall, where she was quickly promoted to Senior Customer Service Representative. Since then, she has been promoted to Utility Billing Specialist, and then onto her current position of Utility Billing Coordinator. Jensen proves herself time and again to be the backbone of the city's utility billing department. She is always ready to assist and help any of her colleagues, as well as Safety Harbor residents. Most recently, she has not only performed her own job duties with precision, but also braved the heat during the hottest summer on record, as she was out reading water meters for 4 months while her department was short 1 meter reader. All right, you get a lot of props just for that right there. That was a hot summer. Jensen has a special talent for jumping in whenever needed and making sure business gets done properly and on time. Adding to Jensen's tenacity is that she is on track to graduate this coming December, receiving a bachelor's degree in business management with high honors. So congratulations on that. So tonight we honor and congratulate Ms. Jensen Perry on receiving her second Employee of the Quarter Award. We also thank her warmly for all her hard work and dedication to the City of Safety Harbor. So how about a round of applause for Jensen?
Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, I just want to say thank you and for giving me many years of opportunity and growth. I could not do this without my team in the utility billing segment, but also with the finance department and everybody else who I've worked with over the many, many years that I've been with the city. So thank you very much again, and I look forward to keep on providing superior work in the future.
Thank you. All right, and our last presentation is the Love My City Photo Contest winners. So we have Shannon Schaefer to handle this one.
Good evening. The City of Safety Harbor hosted its third Love My City photo contest. The photo contest encouraged residents to show off their favorite parts of Safety Harbor. There was a combined total of 124 entries that came in through email. The Safety Harbor Museum of Regional History Board chose a first place winner in each subject category, which I have tonight, and several of the photographers are here with us. From the first place winners, we are asking the City Commission to choose a Best in Show. After that, I would like to call up all of the photographers to receive their prize, and then also the Best in Show prize and a picture with the mayor. So, Love My City photo contest winners. We have the first category is Love My City, our photographer Dave Hutchinson.
That's nice.
Second second category is nature and wildlife with photographer Joanne Clement. Category is parks and landmarks. Butch, forgive me,
Knudsen.
Knudsen.
Wow.
Next category, special events and programs, Stephanie Wignall. Category sunrise, sunset, Fred Broussard. Safety Harbor's thriving downtown, Francie Rogel. And those are our Love My City photo contest winners for those 6 categories. Let me know if you'd like to see any of the photos again.
I mean, I got to say thank you to all the photographers that participated in this. I mean, we all know we've got a very beautiful city, but these pictures, I mean, man, do they really punctuate that. I see a lot of them out there, early in the mornings, taking pictures of the sunrise, and I don't know. I mean, where do we start? And they're all awesome pictures.
Just gorgeous.
So you're looking for us to,
They're all winners, but one best in show.
and you're looking for us to judge the best in show.
Yes, out of the 6.
How do we do that?
It's terrible.
Well, I'm going to just lean back and let you all jump in and see what you think.
I love all of them. They're all beautiful.
Yes, they are.
But we do have to pick one. So.
You do.
All right.
I mean, I can hang on to it.
I think we'll do a silent vote.
You could do a draw of the hat.
It's silent? All right, Carlos has a good idea. What a silent vote. How do we, are we just going to number them 1 through?
Can you spin through the picture?
Sure. Let me start at the beginning.
It's a public meeting, I'm sorry. We're going to put our opinions on the record. I apologize, but.
He's a good attorney again.
So we can't do it silently.
I guess we can't. We're going to be on the record. All right, who wants to? So Vice Mayor asked you to scroll through them again, so why don't we go through and.
So we have Love My City, Nature and Wildlife, Parks and Landmarks, Special Events and Programs, Sunrise, Sunset, Safety Harbor's thriving downtown.
You could take public comment on it if you would like.
We're going to be here all night. Whose idea was that?
It'll make it harder.
We won't get out till midnight. Nancy, what do you think?
I love them all. I keep going back and forth. I love the kids. I love Francie's because that just embodies the spirit of Safety Harbor. And it's who we are. But I also love the owl because of all the trauma we went through losing the owl family. And so that speaks to Safety Harbor. And I love Fred's pictures. I love everybody's pictures. So I don't know. I think if I had to do a number 1, I'd probably go with the kids.
Okay, we'll call that number 6. We'll put Nancy down for that.
But I love them all. It's just heart-wrenching.
They're all so good. Kind of like the Parks and Rec.
Parks and landmarks.
Yeah, Parks
Do
and Landmarks.
fog with the canoe.
I like the fog,
The fog.
the pier.
And put Andy
So
down.
there you go.
You're gonna get 5 individual numbers.
I know. What do we do?
Probably 5 choices.
Now, They are all beautiful. I'm gonna just say number one, just because it's love my city, and when I see that picture, that's what I think of how beautiful Safety Harbor is. I'm gonna go with that one.
I'm gonna go with the owl. I think that was a very difficult picture to get.
Number 2. Shoot. Didn't want to be in this position. I got to tell you, I love them, absolutely love them all. I think I got to agree with the Vice Mayor. I thought I put a check mark near it. I thought there was something unique with the canoe in the fog. And could you just put that one back up
Sure.
again?
No.
Oops, we lost it.
That's not-
So that's the winner.
Okay. Invite all of the photographers up.
Mayor, you go down for a picture, a group picture? A group photo with the photographers.
It's at Safety Harbor Restaurant.
Thank you all. Amazing pictures. The women on one side. Like elementary school. All of you guys.
Did you like the owl? It just was beautiful.
Yeah, it is. The owl. Great. That's stuff. They're all nice. The kids are beautiful.
It was gonna be the owl, but then the kids just caught my heart.
I don't
That
know.
was a good picture, yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the audience to be heard portion of the meeting. Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to be heard on an item that's not on the regular agenda or that's on the consent agenda? If so, please come forward, state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission. Huh. We'll find out. Oops.
I hate coming after all that fun stuff. Late last week, I emailed the city attorney asking 2 clarifying questions regarding the Tucker Mansion quasi judicial hearing. Ms. Sobel politely declined to answer the questions, and the questions were as follows. How accurate do we have to be when presenting information under oath? And 2, what are the consequences if we presented information that is either false or misleading? It is not my intent to humiliate anyone, and I was trying to open a dialogue on the topic without success. Again, I'd like to give Ms. Sobel the opportunity to view these 2 30-second commission videos before playing them here tonight, since she will ultimately be held accountable for the investigation required and the follow-up. Ms. Sobel, do you want to see those?
That's not correct, Mr. Brewer, and I don't know if we have the ability to have you watch these videos at this point.
Could you repeat that?
I would not be in charge of any investigation, number one, and number two, I don't believe we have enough time to watch those videos tonight.
Well, we can't put that on our computer without IT first making, I'm sure what's on there you say is on there, but we have to give it to IT first. before
Yes,
we can put
it's
it on.
straight from your,
If you want to leave it with me, you can.
okay, and then Can you follow up and then
Well,
in a previous
it
meeting?
it doesn't sound like there's going to be follow-up, but if you'd like to leave it with me and they can see it, that's fine. But it sounds
Can I
like,
make an appointment to meet with your IT people so that they can check it out and certify it? I'll leave it with them
that's fine.
to present in the
Give
future.
me a call tomorrow, we'll do that.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wish to be heard? Yeah. Moving on to the consent agenda, we've got 5 items. The first one being approval of the October 2nd commission meeting minutes. Second, approval of the first renewal of the agreement for video services with Espo Productions for a 2-year term. 3, approval of contract with Access Point Technology Solutions Group for City Park Security Camera System in an amount not to exceed $75,000. Number 4, approval of purchase of 2 2024 Ford Transit T350 high roof passenger vans in the amount of $55,000 each for a total of $111,000 from Bozer Ford. And 5, approval of purchase of 6 mobile line powered column lifts for the Fleet Division of Public Works in the amount of $66,000 and change from ARI Phoenix Inc. Does anyone want to pull any of these?
Just, I have a couple questions about 4.
And
I mean,
number-
I'm sorry, 3.
Yeah, I have 3 as well.
Not 4, 3.
Just 3.
Sorry about that.
That's right.
Anyone want to make a motion for 1, 2, 4, and 5?
Move approval as to 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Yeah, my question with regard to number 3, I guess the camera systems, which, are we going to have, every park's going to have a camera at it? Or is this just limited to certain parks?
I'm pulling it up now. Andrea has the list. Keep in mind before, this was part of the approved federal ARPA dollars to go towards this. So, and it's of course by state law video only. Go ahead, Andrea.
Hello, Andrea Norwood, Leisure Services Director. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, you're looking for how many cameras in what parks?
Well, just not how many cameras necessarily, just are we doing them, are we putting cameras up at all the parks or just a select few?
With the limited funding that we had, we focused on the parks where we've had the most vandalism. So that being North City Park, we'll have 2 cameras. Mullet Creek, we'll have 4. Daisy Douglas will have 4. Safety Harbor City Park will have 6. And then Waterfront Park and the Marina will have 8.
Thank you.
Thank you. It says that there's 30 days of footage, and I'm wondering, after that time period, will it be stored for, sometimes things happen that, could be used, could be beneficial after a 30-day period. So I'm wondering what the overall plan is for storage past that point.
It's all going to be cloud stored in the cloud. And I believe by state law, we have to retain it for 30 days per our IT department. So that's why we selected the 30 days in the scope to make sure that we were getting enough, retainage storage space. So I'd have to refer to IT on what would happen after that.
Okay. I would be interested to know, because I think it's good to have some surveillance or some cameras out there to see, because sometimes things happen, but sometimes you need to know the information past that 30-day period, and you'd hate to have it lost if it was of use. So that's what I would like to know.
We will follow up on that and find out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, are there any operating costs, or is this just basic for the hardware?
This is for the hardware and the installation.
Okay.
And it's good for 3 years. And basically after that, it's going to be roughly around $13,000 for the storage space for all the cameras as an operating cost after the year 3.
After year 3? Okay. And that storage space, does that include any kind of operating maintenance costs or anything like that, or?
That's for, they take care of the cameras, so they would be, if we had an issue, we would call them out. It's like a turnkey operation.
Okay, so that's 75,000 covers the first 3 years.
Correct.
I don't have any further questions.
We have a motion.
Move approval of consent agenda item number 3.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we got a lot of people here in attendance tonight. And so just want to not keep anyone longer than we have to. So just by a show of hands, who's here for the pickleball courts naming request? Okay, and by a show of hands, who's here for the non-city agency funding request? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to move those two items up to the next section, and then we'll just go in the regular order after that. So why don't we do the pickleball courts first?
Okay. 1 second. Thank you, Andrea. I'm waiting for it to play. Go
Thank you,
ahead.
Mayor, Commissioners. Ms. Kelly Ambler reached out to the city in July of 2023 requesting information on options to remember the recently deceased resident, Mr. Sidney Sid Boughton, with the construction of the new pickleball courts on Marshall Street. Staff discussed several options with Ms. Ambler, which led to the attached resident petition requesting the following. As a resident of Safety Harbor, Florida, I hereby petition that the pickleball courts in our beloved community be dedicated in memory to the talented Sidney Boughton, a longtime resident of Safety Harbor and a world-class pickleball champion. By signing this petition, I express my respect for Sidney Boughton's outstanding achievements in the realm of pickleball. I believe that dedication to the pickleball courts in memory of Sid would be a fitting tribute to his legacy and a source of inspiration for present and future pickleball enthusiasts. 74 residents signed the petition along with a handful of testimonials, which was all included in your backup. Staff worked with a local sign contractor to design the attached sign for the City Commission's discussion and consideration. Please note the dedication paragraph will be edited per space allotment, and the court rules and regulations panel verbiage is forthcoming, which would be on the bottom portion of the sign. So myself and Matt are here to answer any questions for you. Do you have any?
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Norwood?
Just, I guess, a quick one. Where placement on the property are we looking to put the sign that's in the backup material?
Mind you, it's still, the area is under construction.
Well, this is as you walk in, but we can have, yeah, like where the fence is and stuff, yeah. I got it. I know.
So I'm awaiting the final electrical install. The electrical panel is going to be placed somewhere around that crepe myrtle tree right there in the middle. And the intent or the plan is to place the sign in front of that electrical panel to kind of hide that so you won't really see it from the parking lot. So as you're coming up from the parking lot, that's going to be one of the first things that you see. It's going to be located right there near that crepe myrtle tree.
Okay, and you'll pass that as you enter the courts.
Exactly, yep. Now, the sidewalk is going to be directly to the right of the crepe myrtle tree, and then we have an apron that's a stormwater apron that is going to be to the left, which we feel that a lot of people will use that area as access to the courts as a direct access from the parking lot. So it's going to be dead center, kind of in the middle of those two.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I haven't forgot about public comment on this, but do want to see if there's a motion before we move to public comment.
Do we need a motion?
You need a motion? Yeah, if so, I move to approve.
And I'll second.
All right, anyone from the audience wish, we have a motion and a second to approve the naming rights. Does anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this item? If so, come forward, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
I will say, I'll just jump up real quick. I'm Kelly Ambler, Safety Harbor resident, and I just wanted to say thank you. Oh, that's Matthew. Nice to meet you. Thank you for guiding me with the nuances on the petition and the signatures. I appreciate that, and thank you, Commission, for giving us the opportunity to speak today. And on behalf of Sid's widow, Yvonne, who unfortunately can't be here tonight, I did just want to share that she's very excited about the prospect. It has brought a smile to her face, I would say, these past few months as I've shared the progress that we've made in trying to make this decision. This is Mr. Bill Brennan. He is pickleball extraordinaire as well.
That's embarrassing. Thank you so much for letting me speak a little bit about, Sid was my partner, pickleball partner for 5 years. and he was also my wife's pickleball partner. So the three of us spent a tremendous amount of time together. And as you know, pickleball is going crazy everywhere. And I think that the council should be commended on your actions of looking forward and saying, okay, you already had a great indoor facility, and Mike Manser was a guy that we used to play with a lot, and Sid really liked him. And Sid was a big advocate, and I'm not trying to think of the right word to use when it comes to him about how much he loved Safety Harbor. He used to talk to all of us about, come to Safety Harbor, we got this event going on, and we got that going on. Or say, Sid, you want to get in this tournament? He goes, no, can't, there's going to be a parade, and I want my golf cart in the parade. So, he is so respected, as, he and Leslie, I shouldn't sound like I'm bragging here, but they won the gold medal at the US Open in 2021. And just a little bit of information about how big that is. Sid had already won the gold medal there once before. 2016, when that tournament was formed, there were 800 players and 2,000 spectators. Last year, there were 3,038 players and 41,000 spectators from 29 countries. So to say pickleball isn't growing would be an understatement. It's crazy. And so the thing about, I was listening to all the comments about, one of the things about Sid, he was a great athlete. And as a matter of fact, he's in the St. Petersburg High School Hall of Fame for football. I didn't even know that. And he and I are awful close. I didn't even know that till we had his memorial service. And I said to Yvonne, I said, what the hell is this? I said, Sid. He's this big strapping guy. And everybody just, when Sid would walk into someplace, everybody wanted to be around him. First and foremost, he's a gentleman. He always, there's a thing in pickleball where people say you should give back. Well, basically all that means is that you want to help people that are just starting, get them to understand and enjoy the game. And not everybody it sounds good, but not everybody likes to do that. Many, many times I saw Sid stop playing with the groups he was playing with and go over and play with beginners and teach them how to play. And in all of the years we were together, I never heard him utter one single word about anybody that was negative, ever. He wouldn't participate in that conversation. And quite honestly, I can't say that about too many people. He's just a good guy and somebody I think the city will be proud to have his name associated with that complex. So if you have any questions,
We just need your address.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We have Kelly's. We just need yours.
Okay, it's 1123 Stevenson Avenue in Clearwater.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else before we vote on this? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Matt, outside agency funding request?
Thank you, Mayor. City Commission, you programmed $120,000 for grants to outside agencies in fiscal year '24. Staff posted notice on the city website and ran a notice in the September-October '23 edition of Cityscape advising interested parties that the city was taking requests for outside agency funding. You received 10 requests. They are listed there in the backup. Cats of Safety Harbor, Freedom Sailing Camp, Harbor Dish, Kids Pedal Power, Maddie Williams Neighborhood Family Center, Neighborly Care Network, Paint Your Heart Out, Ready for Life, Safety Harbor Chamber of Commerce, and Whispering Souls African American Cemetery. The Whispering Souls African American Cemetery, the backup is in front of you. We failed to put that on in the backup of the meeting, but you have it before you. The 5-year funding history is available in your backup, and the total requests total $128,700 for fiscal year '24. And again, you have $120,000 budgeted, so the City Commission can discuss what you would like to do with these requests. And I know that there are individuals here from each agency that if you have any questions, they'd be happy to answer them. If you have any questions for me or finance, let us know.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions or comments?
Yeah. The initial comment I have is there's a bunch of new players in here, new charities. And I think that what they're asked as far as funding is very, very aggressive. And that's the only, I think they're more aggressive than people who have been established charities here, charities in this town for a long time. And I have no problem introducing them into Safety Harbor, but I think it's something that over the course of time, maybe the current ask that they have for funding, I think it's going to take it should take a few more years for them to establish that.
Could I?
Yeah, please.
I felt the same way, and I deliberated, I thought about this a lot, and I came up with a little proposal. And if I could show it, it's the same funding formula, but I just made notations, or if somebody made notations, and it'll show what I think. Is that okay?
It's awesome.
And Rachel, is it possible to put this up? And this is in front of you on page 2, but what I changed was Freedom Sailing Camp. They had asked for 10, and I put them to 5. I was a little concerned at first because it was a Clearwater concern, but then it is for autistic children, and they do say 50% of their population is from Safety Harbor. So I still was comfortable going with 5, but I did do half their ask. Then going down it needs to be a little bigger for me, let's see. I guess it's the Ready for Life. I went to 3. So I went, and excuse me for saying I went to 5, I went to 3 for Freedom Sailing Camp and 3 for Ready for Life. And the rest of them I left intact, and that leaves me 300 short of our 120,000, under budget.
Yeah, so my thinking was to go with the Freedom Sailing Camp, the Ready for Life, the Kids Pedal Power, stick that to 2,000 apiece. I got no problem. I think the Cats of Safety Harbor go with 1,200, and I would stick with the Whispering Souls at 3,500. So I would go a little bit less on the Ready for Life, Freedom Sailing, and Kids Pedal Power.
You wanted to go 2 each?
Go 2 each there. Cats of Safety Harbor, I'm good with that at 1,200, and Whispering Souls at 3,500.
So basically, as requested, so similar to Commissioner Basore, as requested, but 2,000 for those 2 instead of 3,000.
2,000 for those 3.
Well, yeah,
But they already just asked for 2.
Kids Pedal Powered asked for 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So as requested, and so the difference is 2,000 to 3,000 between those 2, what you both are saying. So you're close.
Okay, so it's 1,000 each difference. So what you said, 2,000 less. So then we'd be 2,700 under budget.
Nothing wrong with being under budget.
I agree.
It's to save money.
I agree.
All right, I'm gonna jump in. I hear your all suggestions. I have an issue with the funding request from Cats of Safety Harbor. The person heading up that organization also heads up a Facebook page called Saving Safety Harbor. We've all discussed some of the issues in the past about, some of her behavior. We passed a anti-cyberbullying resolution in part as a result of some of the stuff she put on her page. We asked when she was on a board member to sign a standard of conduct, which would prohibit somebody from that kind of behavior. She refused to sign it and preferred to resign from the board. Is recently, and I gotta say, I'll just be honest, I think she does great work for the cats. The community seems to think that the work that she does for the cats is is really good, but there is like this tale of two cities where there is past behavior that's very concerning to me. I will say as recently as May, my cat was hit by a car and died. It was very sad for us and especially for my wife, whose cat it was. And the next day or the day after, she's posting a picture of our cat on her page, criticizing the way my wife took care of the cat. I had a lot of comments to follow, talking about how my wife wasn't, a good cat owner, and this was the second time she did this, actually. I saw her a couple days later. I didn't bring it to the commission. I asked her if she could please just take the post down. It's had my wife in tears. My wife is already very upset over the loss of the cat. My wife's in tears. That post was very disturbing to her, just reading all the comments. And she told me no. And I checked this morning or today, and the post is still up there. So I have a real strong problem with giving taxpayer dollars to an organization that's just not in compliance with our anti-cyberbullying resolution. I don't think we should even need something like that or a standards of conduct, but it should just be basic, human decency behavior to another person, especially when they're grieving a pet. So I have a problem with that. If the commission is so inclined to fund the request, then I would suggest that we, similar to what we did for the advisory boards, we come up with a standards of conduct for recipients of non-agency city funding, where we ask them to abide by certain behavior. Two items of behavior on the standards of conduct from the advisory boards include avoid the use of abusive, threatening, or intimidating language or gestures directed at colleagues, citizens, or staff. I would point out the citizens part, and then I would suggest also number 10, not engage in harassing behavior or unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature or other board members, employees, or citizens. So this one has to do with harassment. I think that should be emphasized in any standards of conduct if the commission were inclined to fund this request. The other thing I would suggest to the commission is to ensure compliance with that. Instead of giving the money as a lump sum, we do it monthly. So if there is an issue with compliance, then we can stop the funding. So those are my thoughts.
Guys speak.
We'll open it up for the public in a little bit.
I want to say something and acknowledge your wife's grief and your grief about your cat. And I want to say that I spent about an hour the other night going through back posts of Saving Safety Harbor, and I did a mental refresh. And so I understand about the conflict, but I also understand that there's been a decided shift, which is much appreciated. It's city news that I'm seeing, and it's public service announcements just in this brief review that I did this hour. So I want to say thank you for that, because I've also noticed myself in some of these comments, and I don't want to use bad language, but sometimes it seems as though the tone is get rid of those pro-development dogs, and then, by the way, Basur too. So your comments are not alone about the civility. It's often not even the first poster, but it's the people who jump on later who stir and beat and smash. So anyway, back to this. I'm appreciative that the tone seems to have changed, but I also think, looking at the overall picture of what's done, I've also noticed what you did for the cats at the spa, and I noticed what you've done for Cats Around Safety Harbor through the voluminous emails. Many, many people have weighed in and said the positive side. So my joy and my wonder would be that you'd say, oh, I'm sick of Saving Safety Harbor, and I'm just going to shut that down, not do that. I want to concentrate on the cats, but I realize that that's Pollyanna speaking to you. That's why I didn't call you and ask you to do that. But thank you for listening.
So would you be okay with standards of conduct?
I think that I don't need it necessarily in writing because of what I'm saying. I think the tone has changed. I think the ask is actually rather small, the 1,200, in the big picture of what all this costs. But I'm also a cat owner, so I have to say that too. I'm somewhat prejudiced. I think I've benefited possibly from Shelley, but also from maybe your predecessors. I brought in a cat with a notched ear. I didn't understand when I took in my cat from the trailer park across the street that slashed ears meant trapped, neutered, vaccinated, and released. And so when I took my cat in to get her fixed, she was already fixed. And I kept her. I was supposed to keep her out there as a community cat. I learned later, but I kept her. So I have one of the Safety Harbor cats who's alive because of somebody who did trapping, neutering, vaccinating, and releasing. So thank you. I did want to say I'm a little bit prejudiced for the cats.
Okay, anyone else?
Would your comments for those items that you listed, it would be applied to all of the agencies that get non-city agency funding requests?
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know, I think in this day and age, pretty mean world out there, so I can be sympathetic with people on both sides that have issues associated with it, and I would think that I wouldn't necessarily have any concern with having that type of policy in place if, in general, for anyone who receives city funding requests that we're providing to groups that are supposed to be providing good services to the community. So I've read 40-plus emails also that have talked about the cats and the improvements and the benefits and stuff, and I've also talked to people in the industrial park and other places that have lots of cats, supposedly, and the cat problem. So for that particular cat issue, it seems like there's a benefit there. So I would be in support of those, a certain standard that would be in place so long as it's equally applied to everyone. And the combination, whether it's Commissioner Besor's or Commissioner Diaz's solutions about reducing the dollar amounts seem reasonable to me in order to make it underneath the budgeted number that we have.
I'll throw in too, I'll back up, I'll go with that policy if it is for everybody. Hearing it that way, I'm okay.
Got to keep it cordial and civil. In light of everything that's going on in the world and stuff, we got to continue to do what we can to try to make the city as beautiful as those pictures that we saw earlier today. And they're not just pictures, that they're real things.
All right, anyone from the audience wish to be heard? If so, please come forward, state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Haley Ray. I live at 1340 Harbor Hills Parkway. I had a situation with cats in my neighborhood that were roaming wild, and we all know what can happen when they just start multiplying. We don't need that. That's road they just get run over, or it's not a good thing. So we have a woman that's selfless in this community that when I had that problem, I called her, and within hours, she was at my house taking care of 2 cats. Now, since then, I have adopted a spayed and neutered cat, a clipped-eared cat. I forget the terminology, I apologize. But I have adopted one, and he is sick. And even though he should be part of the county will do nothing to help him. I'm unemployed, I'm looking for work, and I'm living off of an unemployment salary. I'm sure that makes a few of you up there happy. But for a cat of mine that's dearly suffering, I'm trying to find out how I afford care for that cat. And she is the one that came to the rescue when I called and said, I don't know what to do with him. I can't afford it, and I'm not sure what to expect. She went and got antibiotics. She made sure to explain exactly how to do it. And this is a woman that's looking out, not just for a friend, but for anybody in this situation. And it could be anybody, because cats just live in the sewers and they come up no fancy, and no matter how fancy your neighborhood is, you're going to get feral cats if you don't take care of the feral cat situation. So I think that whatever the Cats of Safety Harbor is requesting is certainly appropriate. I've been paying out of my own pocket. Other people have been paying out of their own pockets. And it's a big organization that this community supports. So please keep that in mind. I apologize that you had this issue with your cat, but let me be honest with you, Ayo. You're a mayor. If your wife is losing it over a dead cat, there's more issues there when you go forward with your career, because they will come after you harder than she ever did.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Well, it's been a long time since I've been here, but I've been busy, as you can all imagine. And before I came tonight, I was looking at the city website, and I didn't know this, but the city actually has a motto. And the city motto for the City of Safety Harbor says, and these are in quotes, the city motto is, "The citizen is our priority." And I wasn't going to get into this whole thing with the mayor and the mayor's cat and so on, but since you've brought it up, I'll say this. Your cat used to come to my door and I would feed her. And I felt terrible for this cat being left outside. And because you are the mayor, you're the person that should be setting an example. I'm sorry that this happened to your cat. I couldn't take your cat because your cat has a collar on it, your cat is microchipped, I know she's your cat. So I had no choice but to leave that hungry cat out there. And knowing that she was roaming as far away as 2nd Street and 6th Avenue, because that's where one of my volunteers lives. When your cat got run over, it was my volunteer that called me at 10 o'clock at night in frantic saying, "Shelley, I just saw a cat get hit by a car. What should I do?" I said, "Do you have gloves?" "Yes." I said, "Do you have a towel or something to wrap it in?" I said, "Is it dead or is it alive?" He says, "It's still alive, but it's bad." And I said, "Does it have an ear tip?" He says, "I can't tell." He says, "It's got a collar." And I said, "See if the collar has a tag." He says, "Yes, it says Olivia." I said, "That's Joe Abe's cat." And he said, "Yes, someone just called. I think it's the mayor's cat. And I know he tried to stay and help you. I know that you did not accept his help." And I said, this is a learning experience for everyone who has cats, especially with collars, that they let go outside. And part of what I do is not just trap, neuter, vaccinate, and return. It's educating the community as to the dangers of cars and coyotes and crazy people. They're out there, and these cats are suffering. And my goal is to reduce the number of cats. Whether you love cats or if you hate cats, you should be in favor of trap, neuter, vaccinate, return, because that's the only way that you're going to reduce the cat population. I know that you guys got 50 emails from people, and they can tell my story much better than I can, because they brought up things that I had even forgotten. I've taken care of so many cats. I have fixed and vaccinated over 800 cats. I've adopted over 200 friendly cats and kittens. So it's been very busy, and I have stepped back from saving Safety Harbor because I don't think I can save Safety Harbor, at least not in the way that I thought I could save Safety Harbor. So that's why you haven't seen me or heard from me for a long time. And that night, Joe, that you sat in that chair and called me a pig, I was crawling under a porch over on 13th Avenue North, pulling a litter of kittens out that all had upper respiratory infections and they couldn't hardly breathe. And that's what I was doing that night. So I've never had a cat that called me and said, I think I have a broken leg. I'm hungry. I think I just had another litter of kittens. But I've had people call me, people, hundreds of people, who have sick cats, hurt cats, lost cats, found cats, litters of kittens, dead cats, all types of problems, not just trap, neuter, vaccinate, return. I'm very lucky, though, that I have good support. I have volunteers that help me to trap. I have volunteers that help me to keep the cats fed. They keep an eye on these colonies and let me know when new cats come in. And that's where you have to be able to get in there and get those cats and get them fixed before they keep reproducing. And I will say that if the City of Safety Harbor approves this request for funding, there's people like me in all the other communities that are doing the same kind of work, and they're doing it out of their own pocket. My volunteers are taking money out of their own pocket to go buy cat food. If they need cat food, I bring it to them. I'm totally funded by total just donations and what I take out of my own checking account. And I gave you our budget and I showed it to you. I'm asking for 15% of what my budget is. If the city approves this request, it's like throwing a pebble into the pond, because those ripples go all the way out to every shoreline, and it'll inspire other communities to also fund people who are doing this work. And it's not just to help the cats, it's to help the people like the spa, who calls and says, you know, there's cats in the sewer. What, you know, you gotta come do something. They don't know what, but they had to do something. Fortunately, Matt was able to get the city to help with that. I'm the one that took the cats and the kittens and got them all fixed and vaccinated. I'm sorry. But I will leave it at that. If you support this, it'll inspire other communities to also support it. And Florida has a real problem with feral cats. Thousands are being killed every year at Animal Services. I'm hoping.
Let me ask you one more time. It's been over 5 minutes. Are you going to take that post down, or are you going to leave it up?
The post about your cat?
Yep.
Did you get my email? I asked you if you would be.
It was a long list of,
if you would be
just a
civil.
yes or no answer. I'm not agreeing to, I'm not agreeing to a long list of demands,
Did you see my email?
but I'm asking yes or no, will you remove the post? And I'm gonna just read a
Is that a
couple.
condition of
Excuse me, I'm only one vote, excuse me, you had your 5 minutes. A couple comments. Stupid people abound. Olivia's owner should be arrested for cruelty to animals. Some people are so cruel. How can you not stop? Because they're cowards and evil. This is my wife they're talking about, and
Who put that? Not me.
Yeah, these are the comments following that, following your post, pointing out, how my wife was not doing a good job taking care of the cat. So it's still on there. I mean, it's still on there. She has this laundry list of demands to take it down, which is like ridiculous. Hold on a second. Excuse me. I'm going to address a couple of your comments.
Those were the only requests.
I'm going to just
I
make
made
a
of
couple,
you.
I'm going to make a couple comments. The cat was not hungry. The cat came in, it ate, it was skinny, but it's very active. Your volunteer was trying to whisk the cat away while my wife was begging to not take the cat, and he's trying to put it in a garbage bag. Yes, I mean, this is not your job to make a point to my wife and make an example out of her. You're talking about it's a learning experience. I mean, there's two separate issues. One, yes, you do a good job with cats. I'm not saying you don't. With people, that's another issue. Excuse me. All right, listen. So that's where we stand. I think we have time for more, but thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, anyone else?
My name's Aaron, I live at 511 6th Street South. It was an emotional appeal by Shelley. I just want to say that everything that she said about the things that she does about the animals in Safety Harbor are more than true. I encourage anybody on the board to go out and just take a look at her dam. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it before, but if you've ever looked inside of it, you'll see that there's more things in there for animals than there are for people. So I think I remember her request for funding being around $1,200. Is that correct? So
I can tell you that that amount of money pales by comparison to the amount of damage that feral cats do in this area. And just so you know, I really apologize for anything that happened before I walked in here about your cat and anybody else's cats. I know how emotional animals can be, but I'll just quickly tell you that we lost our cat, a feral cat that we adopted, that we took in off the street about 2 or 3 months ago. And my wife somehow found Shelley on a website. And we were frantically looking for the cat for 3 days. And the morning of the first day that I was out all night looking for the cat with a flashlight, I looked up and there were people walking around 6th Street, right down here by 6th and 5th where I live, flashlights. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? And I walked up and asked them, and they were like, Shelley sent us to help you find your cat. So now they stayed there for 4 days till we found the cat, which we did. And now that cat and another cat that she found for me a long time ago still live in my house. So all I can tell you is I don't really know what the big deal is about an amount of money like that. So the only reason I'm standing here is whatever the city, if the city can vote to do it or not to do it, if they'll vote for even a portion of it, I'll match whatever portion they'll do. And they can send the bill to my house if I will in 6 months. You know, that just lightens up your hearts. I'm really sorry about what happened to you. I do think that Shelley would probably do whatever she could to help that person take down a post that was mean or not true or whatever, but I'm just telling you, that's how passionate people get about their animals. They love them. And I can just tell you, if anybody has bird feeders in their neighborhoods around here, you care about birds, you should also apply some of what she's telling you to that, because a lot of those feral cats destroy the natural birds of Safety Harbor, our wading birds, our birds that walk up and down the shoreline here. So think about the whole thing and think about the puny amount of money that's up there compared to everything else. I know we have a tight budget here, but it's absurd. So whatever you can't do, just let me know and I'll pay. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Yes. Please state your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Kay Murray. I live at 45 Avon Drive. I did not expect to speak tonight, but I also did not expect to hear the mayor take a personal stand in an issue like this. You have already conceded that Shelley and the Cats of Safety Harbor do a great job for their mission in Safety Harbor. The fact that your wife got her feelings hurt because her cat got run over and somebody said something unkind about it, this isn't the forum to bring that up. You shouldn't even use that to influence your decision. You're a professional, you are a mayor. You owe a duty to all people. We need to make sure that we have funding so that we can continue with Shelley's mission and that we can control this cat population and that eventually we don't have it anymore. And that's what we should concern ourselves with. She has a First Amendment right to put whatever she wants to on Facebook. And then the only comment you mention is the one somebody else put in response to Shelley's comment. I don't understand why you would do this, but it's completely inappropriate.
Maybe it's a good idea to just help alleviate it. I understand. Nobody likes negative things, so I understand. I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I know, we gotta, sir.
But it's my 3 minutes,
Sir.
and I appreciate that you're going to match it.
Sir.
It's my 3 minutes. And I just want to make sure I am a citizen of this town, and you owe duty to me too. Not that you use your own personal animosity to affect or influence your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Hi, I'm Shannon Wilson, 206 12th Avenue South. I put a post on Facebook about a month ago, cat on my porch. I was adopted by a couple feral cats about 6 months ago, and I had to start feeding them. And somebody mentioned call Cats of Safety Harbor about this extra cat that wasn't fixed. The other 2 were ear-tipped. So I contacted Shelley. The next morning she came over. She brought me 2 traps. She showed me how to use them. She brought me food. She told me she'd be there for anything I needed. I caught a cat that Saturday night at 9:30. I was freaking out. You know, the cat was crying. I was upset. You didn't want to hurt the cat. Wasn't, you know, I was terrified. Shelley came over, took that cat, put it in a bigger crate overnight till we could take it the next morning to get it fixed. We have done that 3 times in the last month. I've made my cat colony in the neighborhood healthy. I feed them. They come visit me. They're becoming friendly. They're not a problem in my neighborhood anymore, except for the fact that there's a guy about a block away from me who breeds feral cats and lets them run wild. I did send you an email. You need specific details. I didn't want to call anybody out in public. I'd be happy to give you that information. But if Shelley wouldn't have come into my life, I wouldn't have helped those cats because I didn't know what to do. And I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Anyone else? No?
I would, if the commission was so inclined to want to look into, a code of conduct or something similar for our recipients of the funding, I would suggest that you direct my office to look into that before really voting on that tonight. I think that's just something that needs to be looked at by legal before we affirmatively vote on it, but I think it would be just fine to, if the motion maker wanted to include in their motion to direct my office to look into that possibility and, some of the some of the parameters that we could do that within.
Unless you want to talk.
I think we do have a cat problem in this community. It's not just feral cats, it's, again, people allow their cats out, and cats have a pretty big, if you research it, they have a pretty big impact on the environment, not in a positive way. I think that there's an undertone, and I think if I was in your position as the mayor or vice mayor or commissioner, there were, I guess, negativity is what I would call it, from people in the community that would come forth and, there over the years in this community, there have been issues with, during election time, people getting carried away with who they support, this and that, and I think it carries over, and there are sometimes personal attacks on us. People don't necessarily know us, and we get attacked. I'd certainly like to see some of that subside, because I think we all live in this community. We all want the best for the community. It's kind of like asking people what their favorite color is, and you're going to get all sorts of responses to your favorite color. That means if you like red and someone else likes blue, is red wrong? And I think since I've been up here the last couple of years, I think it's been very, very peaceful. And unfortunately, there are times in our community when there's some hostility. I don't know if it's the national political scene that carries over or it's just that way. I certainly, when I was sitting as mayor, I certainly took lots of shots. And it is not fun. To everybody in the public, we're human. And we sit up here as professionals, yeah, but no one likes to have a family member, and I can empathize with the mayor. No one likes to have a family member who's saddened by the situation. So I would just convey this. I will support this because I think, I think CATS is a good organization doing good work for Safety Harbor. But I would also say that, got to tone it down a little bit. It's kind of like trust and verify. It's a good organization, does good work for the city, but there's got to be able to allay some of the, I don't know, negativity towards us. I mean, when you come and ask the city commission to support your organization, you got to remember, yes, it's a good organization. Yes, I'm going to support it, but to organizations and people that want to get the ear of the city commission and have them kind of support what they're trying to do, whether it's a nonprofit organization or whether it's someone coming before the commission and asking us to look into an issue. I mean, it's you gotta be a mensch. You gotta be polite, respectful. We all have our differences. I think there's 5 of us up here. We probably differ on lots of issues, but we do our best in a professional manner to get along. And I guess what I'm conveying is I would like, in general, for the public to do that as well with us. I mean, we want to hear your issues. We want to do best. We want to do what's best for the citizens and what's best for Safety Harbor. But sometimes, spewing anger or negativity or, it's not going to go a long way. So again, I support it, because I think I've been there. I've seen the work Shelley's done in the past, and I know she's supported by the community. And again, I see the problem personally. Just go to Harbor Lake Circle, you can see all the cats running around. We do have a big cat issue in the city, and she's selflessly giving of herself. I would just ask that she tone down some of her opinions or feelings towards some of the commissioners. Again, got a First Amendment, you can say and do whatever you want, but it would go a little bit further to be kind, respectful. That's all I would say.
Nate, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think I heard what everybody was saying and stuff like that. Everybody was talking about cats. It's not about cats. The city's not about cats. The government doesn't represent cats. The government represents residents, people. Whether it's Joe Ayub's wife, my wife, you guys, we represent people. We don't represent cats. We can get rid of all the cats in town, right? And the city will function fine, right? That doesn't say that what you're doing is not something that's important, right? But I think that the priority is not cats. Priority is people, right? And if you're doing, what you're doing is helping people out, helping out feral cats running around, and perhaps, you're helping people out. But we cannot disguise the fact you can't put those cats in front of people, okay? And how they have their cats, or whatever that happened to their cats, you cannot criticize that. That is not right. That is not right. Because I don't know anything about Joe Ayub's cat. You don't know anything about Joe Ayub's cat. I can only tell you that at one time in my lifetime, I was the owner of 5 cats in the same house, right? 5 cats, yeah. 5 cats, 5 different personalities. 2 cats were just docile, would just sit underneath our office chairs, be all cuddly and stuff like that, sit on the lap. 1 cat didn't want anything to do with it. It would just, all spaded, okay? Let's throw all that in there, right? 1 cat didn't want anything to do with being in the house, just make a mess. Go to the bathroom anywhere, just criticizing, right? And we had to let it go outside. Go outside, come back in, go outside, come back in. We had another one that would go outside, but just stay around the yard. One of them would venture out. All the cats live more than 10 years. All somehow. But what I'm trying to say is that I cannot, I kind of understand, because the cat's got, you cannot, the cat's got a soul in it. Some cats got this soul that just, they want to go out there and they want to go ahead and proud. They want to go, that is what they want to do. Yes, it does lead into bad things, and that's where you're coming in. I do support what you're doing, as I've said before, but I don't support, attacking people, and I don't, as you know, because I've been in a similar situation like that, but I don't really go into these gossip posts and stuff like that and start arguing with people on Facebook and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, let's just keep the priorities straight. This is about people. This is about us. That's all I have.
And I would just clarify, I didn't mean to make this personal. It was the example that I was the most familiar with. But I would say if Ms. Schellenberg is comfortable, the day after somebody's cat gets killed, going online, and she didn't make those comments, but criticizing them for the way they were taking care of the cat the day after and posting a picture of their cat online, knowing very well that there was going to be some pretty, very bad comments. I mean, does she think this is okay to do for the next time she doesn't agree with?
I don't mean to interrupt, but when I came in late, so I apologize, I didn't hear it all, but I thought I just heard her say that she didn't make those comments.
I'm sorry, no, sir, your 3 minutes, I'm sorry, sorry, yeah. The point I'm making is, no, she didn't. She made comments criticizing her handling in the way she took care of the cat. That's bad enough, posting the day after somebody's cat gets killed, criticizing somebody for the way they did it and basically laying blame at their feet. So without taking the personal side out of it, does this person think it's okay for the next person whose cat dies or gets injured and she doesn't agree with what they did to go online and criticize them, and then knowing that there's going to be comments following up that go over the top? If that's the case, I'm not comfortable giving her $1 if she thinks it's okay criticizing pet owners if she doesn't agree with them. If she's willing to, I don't think she would. I think she should apologize. But at the bare minimum, I think this code of conduct would be appropriate, because if we're giving taxpayer dollars to an organization that is going to be criticizing citizens of safety, excuse me, no, we're done. If we're going to, excuse me, stop, please. Your time is up. Okay, your time's up. If we're going to be giving taxpayer dollars to somebody who has a history of criticizing residents, and this wasn't on Saving Safety Harbor, it's on Cats of Safety Harbor, if she's going to use that forum to criticize other people, then I'm not comfortable with $1 giving to her. If she wants to sign the code of conduct, I could get behind it, but I'm not, I just have my issues. And if the code of conduct and spacing the payments out to make sure there's compliance is what I would need to see. But anyway.
Are you okay with the motion?
What's the motion?
If I would make a motion about the funding, and then I would like to include what Attorney Sobel said about the policy. So I'll make a stab, if it's okay. What I'd like to propose is that we fund as pictured on the screen, with the exception of dropping my 3,000 to 2,000, as Commissioner Diaz suggested, on the two highlighted blue, and the others would stand as proposed, and then we would request that the city attorney draft a policy. Is that how I would say
Well,
it?
first to look into, to see if that's something that we can do, and if we can, then to draft it.
So that's my motion.
Okay, so I would be for it, assume if we knew in advance that there would be a code of conduct. If we don't know for sure, then I would say, let's carve out Cats of Safety Harbor. Let's make sure that because if for some reason Ms. Sobel says we can't do it, or there's a reason why, I wouldn't be comfortable voting for it. But to me, it's contingent upon everyone signing it. But that's what I say. But you're free to make whatever motion you want.
Well, I'd like to go with, I think this has been a very cathartic conversation, by the way, and I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative of everybody who came up and spoke. It's just excellent. for us to hear. We're a community, and we need to talk. But I'm going to go back to this motion as the funding as pictured, with the exception of dropping the 2, highlighted the sailing camp and the Ready for Life to 2 from 3, and then advise or ask Attorney Silva.
Does that include spacing out payments to cats? Because
I don't want to do that, and I feel it's a very reasonable amount of money, and I'm very excited also about the gentleman matching. I'm hopeful he's putting his dollars where his mouth is, and we're getting another 1,200. Yay.
I think he said if we didn't do it. I
Oh,
don't know
did
if
you
you're
say if we
putting him on
did
the hook.
not, or did?
I'll tell you what, why don't we just do this? If you vote for it tonight and vote yes, I'll split it with you. You only gotta pay 6. How about that?
It's not about the money.
It's not about the money.
It's not about the money. It's not. I put that in as an aside. Okay. So anyway, I would like to keep the funding in there.
All right, so we
That's
have a
my
motion. All right.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
I appreciate it. Thank you to all the 50 people that sent emails, all the people who supported.
Shelley, can we not do this, please?
And we have,
Thank
this is a
you.
public meeting, we have other business.
Yeah, thank you.
Commission,
Thank you.
could I just, so I understand what was just voted on and approved, but, so staff will wait, will work with legal, and then assuming we can do something, Isabel, you might need to help me with this thought, we'll bring back for your approval that code of conduct, and then we won't release any of these funding checks until that time. Is that what I heard? Because that's going to be November. The earliest would be November 6th.
I did not want to delay the funding.
Quite frankly, the code of conduct, I would say this, if any organization, after approving distribution of funds to any of the nonprofits, if there's an issue the next year, in my position, I would nix them from the list. So
Okay.
if one of these organizations comes back and there's been an issue, and one of the commissioners or mayor brings up the issue, certainly, again, I conveyed trust by verifying. If, I just think the code of conduct's easy to enforce because we appoint people to serve on boards, and I think when you do a code of conduct, a lot of these organizations, they're corporations. And probably CATS is a corporation as well. So they're nonprofit corporations. I would say if we approved it and next year, Shelley came back and asked for more money, and there was a list, a laundry list, and she can exercise her freedom of speech, but if there's a laundry list and the commission was upset with that laundry list, I would say that would be enough for me to basically nix that organization, whether it be CATS or whatever organization. If they did something during that period of time we're funding them that offended or would shock the conscience of the public, I would say that would be the time to take action. And I think, again, tonight was a good night to take action. We took action. I think we've conveyed to Shelley our feelings. I mean, we're trying to do good by the community as well. But I empathize with your situation and what you went through, but I just think to basically, and I don't know the specifics on our corporation, but I think it's probably a nonprofit
The
corporation.
501c3.
Right. So I think it would be difficult to do, and I think we're tasking the city attorney with a kind of a tough job to create something where a corporate officer, so that would mean we'd have all these corporate officers sign all of these. I'd rather wait a year. If something occurred during that year, we're funding that organization. When they come back the following year, I think that would be the time to take action.
Vice Mayor, I would say in response to that, she's already out of compliance. Right now, as we speak, there's comments attacking a non-elected official, like calling them evil and should be arrested and criticized. It's like, right now she's out of compliance. Hold on a second, Matt.
I guess then the question would be if we basically said that, again, is she a corporate officer? I mean,
Yes, she is. I mean, it's very well known. She runs the organization. I asked her, hold on a second. I asked her tonight to take it down. Apparently she thinks this is okay behavior.
and
So,
I empathize with you, and I've been in your position, and I've had to sit here when people have been very critical of me, and I know the feeling. And I'm trying to decide whether it's a corporation, or do we say because she's the corporate officer and she's exercising her right to free speech, which we find unacceptable, you know. I mean, we can bring it back and table it if you want to put some strings in. I would say, you know, if you wanted to attach a condition that, you know, she remove that from the site, and that for us to fund her, that she, you know, as a corporate officer for CATS, removes it. Otherwise, no funding. I mean, you can do that. I mean, I think doing the code of conduct is going to be, so what you're saying, I just don't see enforcing a code of conduct against a corporation for what its corporate officer may do. I think it's going to be, I think it's tough. So I would say to the commission, either the commission attach strings, we bring it back up and revisit it and attach strings to it so that, you know, the conduct of that corporate officer's got to be acceptable to the commission, or there's no funding. That's, again, but after they meet those criteria or those conditions, we give the money, then all of a sudden it's back up as a post. Then next year, when she comes back for funding, the commission would probably say no. So again.
let me say this. It wasn't my intention to make it personal. This is,
I get it.
But given that it is, I mean, if you want to put conditions on it, I mean, I would be hesitant.
I think that's the only way to do it.
I would be hesitant to say, you need to remove this post, but I think it would be reasonable to say, if you have offensive material on there that any decent person would read, where you have a post that's criticizing someone the day after their pet dies and people are saying the person should be arrested in cruel and evil, I think to most people that is, and this is a good discussion to have, I mean, I don't want this to be personal, but if you put those conditions in, this would fall under that, this would fall under it, and then it would have to be removed. And I would be for that.
I mean, I think that's, again, I think coming up with a code of conduct for a corporate officer for a nonprofit is impossible to.
So maybe it's easier just to say, these are the guidelines, like if you want to have this offensive material on there, no funding, and if this is still on there, which would,
Right.
So, all right, so I just brought this up, so I'm sorry. I'm just trying to understand what is expected of Izzy and I and when, because your next commission meeting's 3 weeks from tonight. Are we not going to distribute funds until you see, well, okay, there's a couple things that could happen.
Now, I know where you're going with it. Let me say this.
like,
We've
what
never
do you
had
want
an
next?
issue in the past, we never had a board member that was as hostile as somebody on the board, so we did the anti-cyberbullying. It was like, that was a one-off, like we never even had to think of this. And right now, we've never had somebody apply for city money that has extremely offensive material on their Facebook page. So, I mean, to answer your question, I would say release all the funds except this one, because this is the issue, and we'll see how it plays out, and then we can go from there.
That's fair enough.
Okay.
We revisit it in 3 months.
3 weeks, or whatever.
Well, what we could do is, okay, so why don't we do this? Release half the funds, or 3 or 4 months of the funds, and then review it again in 3 or 4 months, or half.
Well, we're going to do the research. Like, what's the sequential order? We'll do the research, and Izzy's going to tell me within a couple weeks if we can even do it or not. But, like, what's the expectation of the commission? Do we release everyone's funds except for hers? Do we release everyone's funds and a portion of hers? Because I don't know what the research is going to tell us. The research is going to tell us either yes, you can, or no, you can't. and then we're gonna have to draft something, and then you're gonna have to approve it, and then we're gonna have to get everyone to sign off on it.
It might be something that might be best for next year's funding to enforce the code of conduct in terms of actually, unless the funds are held, all of the funds are held up.
I know that's my concern.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to bring it up, I want to just know, I want to make sure I'm meeting the expectations of the commission. So, and I know we have 9 other agencies that are relying on those funds. We can release all the funds except.
So what I think we should do is just go 4 or 5 months, or maybe half a year, and then review it again for the next 6 months. And that's it.
You're talking about
For the
with
cats.
For the cats only, for the cats only.
And then in the meantime, research and bring you back information on,
I think, yeah, you could do that, but I'm very skeptical whether that's gonna fly.
I have some concerns about First Amendment rights here, in terms of isolating cats at this point,
Yeah, I'm not-
based on the conversation that we've had here tonight.
okay, so then so we're gonna need time to do research and have discussions. How would the commission like us to distribute the funds? Let's just stick to that with no discussion of code of conduct, no discussion of anything else.
So release the funds to everybody else except for Cats of Safety Harbor, release only 6 months worth. We review it again, 6 months.
So I think what Commissioner Diaz is saying is in 6 months before you release the next half, if there's been behavior,
Modification.
the commission may modify the funding.
Izzy, are you okay with that? Are you okay with that distribution? We might want them to vote on it, but where we distribute all the funds as approved, half of cats, and then we'll have a discussion in 6 months.
You want a motion?
It was something that has been brought to my attention tonight, and I'm afraid I cannot give a fully
Yeah,
informed legal opinion about it tonight.
Okay.
Is there anything wrong with that approach? I mean, funding them all and then one partially and then coming up, is that a concern that?
Yes, I have a concern.
We've done it before, asking for more financial information. I can recall for a nonprofit.
What if we just flip it? I mean, I'd be fine with that, but what if we just flip it and say, I mean, we can amend you made a motion, it passed, but now we're having discussion. What if we said, all right, let's approve everyone, and we're going to revisit cats after 3 months? And
I don't feel comfortable. There's just such strong support for funding that organization. We don't usually hear from people as much as we heard from people about this. The passion is there. It's very strong. And I understand your passion also. My dearest hope, I'm being Pollyanna, is I'm going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be gone. It's possible, because this was a very cathartic conversation tonight. You said your part, she said her part, was excellent. But I don't feel comfortable telling the public we're not going to give that one group the money, and it's $1,200.
So I think the only other thing you could do, in my mind, is next year, when it comes back up, if there's an issue, then it's revisited and you can decline to award funding. In other words, you fund the organization if any number of those organizations does something that, whether it's CATS or some other organization, again, you've given them funding for a year. If again, it's at the discretion of the city commission. If there's an issue, then the commission could say.
in my mind, we should have just denied the cats then, because there's an issue right now. I asked her to take it down. There was no indication she would. It's like,
Well, we have a motion, it was approved, so if there's no, we can just work off of that, but it's gonna be, I just want everyone to know, and including those in the audience, it's gonna be until the next commission meeting before we release any funds, because that was the motion. The motion was to, you know, look into this, and if we can do this.
You're talking about the code of
Are
conduct?
they,
Oh.
are they at the same time?
Yeah, I didn't tie them. I didn't tie the
Okay.
release of the funds.
All right, well, then if you didn't, so if the release of the funds was not tied to it, then we can release the funds, and then we'll bring back information on the code of conduct.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay.
All right, I was a little confused. We'll do that. We can move on, Mayor, I'm sorry.
All right, moving on, we'll go to public hearings. First one is adoption or denial of ordinance 2023-10. Ms. Sobel?
Ordinance number 2023-10, an ordinance of the City of Safety Harbor, Florida, annexing certain property located at 3339 Irwin Street East, Safety Harbor, Florida, into the corporate limits of the city, providing for publication in accordance with the requirements of law, and providing for an effective date. Mayor and Commissioners, this has been reading of ordinance number 2023-10 on second reading by title only.
Mayor and Commissioners, since your first reading, we have not changed the ordinance. We have not heard from the public. We do not plan a presentation this evening.
Any questions for Ms. Stenmark? Anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this item? Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2023-10 on second reading.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, ordinance 2022-05.
An ordinance of the City of Safety Harbor, Florida, amending Chapter 20, Article 9 of the Safety Harbor City Code regarding small wireless communication facilities and public rights-of-way, providing for codification, providing for publication in accordance with the requirements of law, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Mayor and Commissioners, this has been reading of ordinance number 2022-05 on second reading by title only.
Mayor and Commissioners, since your first reading, we haven't changed the ordinance or heard from the public. We do not plan a presentation. Thank you.
Ms. Stenmark, any questions for Ms. Stenmark?
Just a clarification point. Those are just additions based on legislative changes.
Yes,
So they're
absolutely.
mandatory based on the legislative changes.
Yes, there are two pieces of legislation, and we work with the city attorney's office to draft language as a result of the legislation.
Okay, thank you.
If this is adopted, and I know the state's kind of preempting what we can do, but essentially, they could put up a cell tower pretty much anywhere they want in any right-of-way, or no?
Oh, I would, I can look into that further. I don't think it's, most of the procedure, it's a lot of procedural changes, so it's not, it wasn't that widespread of a ordinance. It's more about changing the rules in terms of how people apply, how they register, and things like that. So I wouldn't say that's the case.
I guess what I'm asking is, they could put these small facilities up in the right-of-way anywhere in Safety Harbor, correct?
So they'd be reviewed. We've had circumstances, I don't know how I want to reply to that exactly, but I wouldn't say that this ordinance means that they can go anywhere and any right-of-way. It adds a lot of different procedural steps.
Yeah, and I think that change that you're talking about, Vice Mayor, already occurred in the state law several years ago. I know that the technology now is that they're looking at putting them on like light poles or utility poles, and the contraption is smaller than an iPad that they hang on there, and then it provides wireless. And in fact, there's some decorative light poles where they'll have wireless inside of there that is going out. So, but I think those changes were already made to the state law, and that's under the wireless facility. And our change says an authority may require an initial letter from or on behalf of such provider, which is effective upon filing and testing that the micro wireless facility dimensions comply with the limits of this subsection. So there's a size, 24 inches in length, 15 inches in width, 12 inches in height, and an exterior antenna are no longer than 11 inches. So
Gotcha. So there's
but
criteria.
it's already in there. It's just, as Ms. Stenmark said, just how they have to provide us the information. And, I mean, when this came out several years ago, the idea was that these utilities were going to start using existing infrastructure so they wouldn't have to build new infrastructure to provide a wireless connectivity throughout cities and towns. And Bright House, well, what is it called? Is it called Bright House? What's it called?
Spectrum?
Well, what's it called now? Spectrum? Gosh.
Spectrum.
I don't have cable. So, sorry. So Spectrum has already done that across town. So we have pedestals all over the place.
Gotcha.
I don't even know who our cable providers are.
But just to follow up, what the vice mayor was, even though it's legislatively listed, like in, what section, it is potentially concerning, and I would agree. Like, if you look at 11E, it indicates that, they could place new utility poles and regional spacing requirements for ground-based equipment which do not exceed 15 feet from the associated support structure. So you could have potentially situations, depending upon where it is, where you would have maybe something on a light pole, but if they needed it, they have the right within 15 feet to put another light pole up. So depending on where you are, potentially you could have some items in the right of way next to your property, which would be more than what many people would like. Whether that happens or not is, it's dependent upon, again, where you are and everything else associated with it, what their needs are. But what the Vice Mayor brought up is a valid point. It's potentially concerning, and we have little that we can do about it based on this.
I was just going to say that. I was going
Yeah.
to say that we are required by state law to
Right.
incorporate this into our code.
Exactly. So it's legislatively driven, but there's potential concerns.
Yes.
Anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this item? Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move to adopt ordinance number 2022-05 on second reading.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, next up, old business.
Opposed, nay.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, 4-1.
In principle.
4-1, all right.
So we're on
Old business.
number one.
Charter Review Committee final report.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Good to see you 2 meetings in a row. While we get the presentation up, we have a couple people here that weren't here last meeting. So just an overview of what we're talking about. The city charter is essentially our city's constitution. It cannot be changed by a vote of commission. It can only be changed by a vote of the public. It does dictate that every 10 years, the commission form a charter review committee to review it and bring you recommendations that you will vote on tonight to put on the March 2024 ballot. And if any of those pass, then they are enacted in the charter. I also want to mention that even though this is a once every 10-year process, there are 2 ways that the charter can be changed at any time. One would be a referendum put on the ballot by a commission. The other one would be a citizen initiative process for a citizen or citizens group who gets enough signatures. So even though we're only talking about this once every 10 years, there is opportunity to change it in between those 10 years. Okay, so with that, I'm sorry, one more thing. One, we very much appreciate the feedback you gave us last week. We had 2 weeks ago, we had our last meeting last week and considered all of it and incorporated that in the final report tonight. And we did have a request from the committee to, if at all possible, for you guys to have the bulk of your conversation before opening up to the public. That would be appreciated tonight. All right, once again, these are the 9 articles, and as I mentioned at our last meeting, we were very deliberate. We went through each article, each section in each article one by one. So we did do a thorough review of the city charter on your behalf this year. Okay, so section 5, ordinances reserved, charter and ordinances reviewed. If you remember from the last meeting, we did not have any language to recommend to you. We merely wanted to bring to your attention that the charter, as stated now, requires a comprehensive ordinance review every 5 years. And that had not been happening for the last 20 years, I believe. However, ordinances have been reviewed on a rolling basis through that entire time. So I want to make clear to the public that this has been happening. It just hasn't been happening the way it was in the charter. Mr. Spohr and Ms. Sobel gave some good feedback on how that could be onerous. Again, there might have been a perfectly fine thing to do in 1923 and 2023. It's a much bigger set of ordinances. And the feedback was that it would take a citizens committee probably 2 or 3 years at least to do that, or an outside consultant about $100,000. I don't think anybody was excited about any of those. So what we came back with instead is removing the every 5 years and adding language that says annually the city manager shall provide to the city commission for consideration suggested additions, deletions, or changes to the city ordinances. So essentially what we're trying to do is keep the spirit of what the charter was asking for, but make it more in line with the modern world and really essentially what has been happening. It probably hasn't been officially every year, but obviously it's been coming up pretty frequently. So that would be the change that we come to you tonight. And Mayor, I assume you want me to go through the entire report like last time and then do questions after that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, section 9, gender neutral. We did not receive any feedback from you at the last meeting, and this is the same language that we presented then. Essentially, instead of the words he or his, also incorporating the female gender, the new language, it applies to all genders and gender identities. All right, again, as you remember from the last meeting, section 12 is a new section that we're recommending be added to protect the Baranoff Park. I don't believe we got any feedback from you on that at the last meeting, but Ms. Sobel had some time to think about it and wanted to be sure that we are covering all of our bases on protecting Baranoff Park. So she suggested, and we are suggesting to you tonight, to add transfer, donation, or trade to that section. And then one more thing I wanted to bring up that I didn't bring up last meeting, we did add, for our draft reports, it's not new tonight, but we did add that last line that says, without referendum. And I want to bring that up just because we had one, maybe two of our committee members that wanted the Baranoff Park protected in perpetuity, as well as some residents as well too. And the reason I brought up at the beginning of the meeting how the charter can be changed in between these 10 years is just to remind folks that there really is nothing forever in this charter. I mean, as long as you have a referendum from City Commission or an initiative from citizens, anything can be changed. So whether you have that last line in there or not, there will have to be another vote before anything can happen to Baranoff Park. But the majority of the, actually, I believe that was unanimous at the end, prefer this language. All right, section 19, vacancy. We did not receive any feedback from you last meeting, so this is exactly as we presented it. Essentially just adding from a pool of applicants. We just wanted to be sure that if there's a vacancy for commissioner, that there's actually a process to allow residents who are interested to apply before commission selects a replacement. Section 21, organization meeting, appointment of vice mayor. This is new language for you from our draft report, suggested to us by Commissioner Mers at the last commission meeting, who was very much correct that the current language in the charter only requires an appointment of vice mayor after an election. And as you all know, there's once every 3 years that there's not an election. So it's a little awkward how we had to do it, but we wanted to take care of that. So we added what we're recommending tonight, new language. At such meeting or in the absence of an election, which that should be of an election, Rachel, sort of. In the absence of an election, no later than the last day of March. So in other words, in election years, obviously after the results are certified, and in that 1 year when there's not an election, the mayor would have until the last day of March. Section 25, special meetings. We did not receive any feedback from you on the draft report, so this language is exactly the same. Essentially just adding the time of notice for certain meetings from 24 hours to 72 hours. And then once again, does not affect your ability to have an emergency meeting in less than that. Section 33, procedure for filing. At my last presentation, Commissioner Diaz recommended that let me back up. So the Charter Review Committee was concerned with this. This is in for the citizen initiative process. There are several steps in there, and one of the steps only gave the petitioners 2 days to respond. We were concerned about that over a weekend or a holiday weekend or something like that, so we recommended adding 2 business days to clarify that it had to be when City Hall was open. Commissioner Diaz suggested that we change it just to a regular number, and we have done that tonight, so we're suggesting changing that number 2 to 5 days. Section 50, elections. Obviously, we received the most feedback from you all on this one at the last meeting. And I believe I mentioned the last meeting too, this section we probably spent more time on discussing and debating than most of the other complete articles combined. So there was a lot of discussion that went into this before we saw you last time. We appreciate all the feedback you gave us 2 weeks ago. We had another lengthy discussion on it last week, and the committee was fairly steadfast that we not change the language that we presented to you 2 weeks ago. So again, what we're recommending is term limits for mayor, commissioner, and commissioner of 2 consecutive 3-year terms. After that, you must take a 1-year hiatus before you can serve again. And then to clarify, there's no seat jumping, so you can't, after a term now, you can't immediately run for mayor, commissioner, or another commission seat, or vice versa. You have to take a 1-year hiatus. That was all. Yep. And section 54, the qualifying statement, again, this was language suggested by city staff. I don't believe we have any feedback from you, and this is exactly the same as it was in our draft report. Just changing the days, so qualifying does not happen on top of the holidays. And that concludes our report. I'm happy to answer questions on any of the changes. I think we've got some members of the Charter Review Committee here as well, too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the follow-up on that. Any questions for Scott while he's here?
Thank you.
All right. Discussion?
Well, I guess I'm going to just, thank the CRC for all their work. Fantastic job, very thorough. And thank you all for listening back to comments that we had and going back and following up with them. I know that's your job, but you did it well and thorough, and thank you for your time. I like them all. I expressed a position last time about term limits, and I still disagree with term limits. I personally feel that it's the responsibility of the person to decide when he or she wishes to continue in that role, and then it's the city's ultimate decision to determine when it is the time for that person to continue. And to me, term limits are just a somewhat manipulative way of affecting an individual's ability to vote. In this particular case, it's the ability to vote for a particular person that he or she feels should be included, and perhaps has done a good job, and you wish that person to be included. So on principle, that particular one I had an issue with last time, and I still do. But just an expression of my person. The rest of it, I'm very comfortable with.
Anyone else?
I'm comfortable with term limits because I think, maybe there should be 3 instead of 2 with a year. But I think taking a year hiatus and then coming back, or 2 years or 3 years, I don't think that's an issue. But that's my personal feeling, so.
Well, I like to follow up with that
Sure.
we also discussed, and if term limits do get implemented, at least to be showing up on the charter, I also think that 3 terms is probably a better thing. And I just mentioned last time, because the experience I've had here on 4 terms is, the first term is just a building term, and the second term you're kind of getting your feet wet, and and maybe you've had the ability to see a second time something that come through, but by the time you had a third term, you would be able to, I think, be more efficient and more beneficial to the community, which ultimately is what you're hoping for. The person has the experience. There's an awful lot of, I think, poor experience, especially in our legislature, where you see people by the time the second term is done, a lot of them are looking at the next jobs that they're going into, or lobbying groups, or various things, and I think that that's only because the way that the term limits are written as to that occurs. So, again, I'm not going to vote for the term limits, but if the rest of the commission goes through, I'd just like to throw that out, that adding an extra term to it, I think, provides for a more seasoned commissioner that ultimately would be the benefit to the community, which is what ultimately is, what we all would prefer.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think I side with Cliff on this. I agree with everything on the charter except for the term limits. I came in last time thinking that term limits were appropriate, but I think one of the things that kind of sounded pretty heavy with me is like, if you don't let somebody run, you're really hurting the public to actually who to vote on. I don't think there's, I think basically it's the public that should decide. Obviously, I'm really not for being up here forever. I know I've been here for a while also, but you gotta let the public decide at the end of the day.
I'm where Cliff and Carlos are about term limits. My passion came from what I saw and what I'm seeing in Tallahassee, what I see happening. I believe they went after a problem that wasn't a problem, and they made themselves a problem, and it's just terrible to me. And because of the lack of experience and the jockeying for jobs in the state, and it came to roost right here in Pinellas County in the person of a person I respected, Karen Seal. And so I'm just adamantly opposed. But then I did backslide a bit because I thought we're deciding to let it go on the ballot. We're not deciding on term limits themselves. But now I'm back the other way. I'm back with Carlos and Cliff again because of what former Commissioner Long said about a citizen initiative. If the passion is out there for term limits throughout the community, the citizens can still bring it up. They don't have to wait 10 years to get commissioners who decide that that's what they want. So there will be an opportunity. And they could also convince a future commission to put it on a referendum. They don't even have to do the initiative process. So I'm going to stay with my feeling against term limits. I also want to be sure that the public knows in the language that it doesn't apply selfishly to us anyway. It wouldn't keep us from running again.
Well, the way the language is written, it doesn't grandfather anyone in, so.
No, but I think it says, and I'm going to defer to Attorney Sobel about it.
Yeah, just to clarify, I'm sorry, I should have made that clear. We did discuss that, and as I mentioned at the last presentation, the clock, if this was going to the ballot and this was approved, the clock would start with the 3 commissioners elected in March. That would be their first term. It would not apply to any previous. So to give an example, we have 3 commissioners up for election in March. If they all choose to run and they all win, they wouldn't be immediately termed out. That would start their term, so they would both have an opportunity to run again one more time after that. And additionally, Mayor Ayub and Commissioner Diaz, if they chose to run in their next election, that would be their first term, and you could run for another term after that.
Thank you for the clarification.
Technically, if you're using the term grandfathered in, you are grandfathered in that your next term, starting at the next election, is when those 2 terms that would count towards the term limits would start.
Okay, I think I'm with the majority up here on the term limits, but I did want to thank the Charter Review Commission for all their hard work and doing everything and coming back with more suggestions based on our last meeting. So I don't think you need a vote, right?
We need public comment.
Yep.
So we need to do that, and then I'll let Izzy say if we need a vote or.
I think it would be appropriate to vote on adopting. I think it sounds like what I'm hearing is that the motion maker would say, we adopt the CRC's final report with the exception of the term limits provision, and then, you direct my office to prepare the ordinances, because now we have to, I believe November 6th is when we're scheduled to have the first reading of ordinances, so I've got to get busy on those.
So you could say, so moved if you want.
Yes.
To what she just said, and then you could second it, and we still need to take public comment.
Yes.
I'll do the so moved.
Second.
Okay. So now,
Anyone from the audience wish to be heard?
You want to hear about Maddie Williams, you gotta hear me on this. Jan, for 601 Fifth Street South. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. That was the second time I got to be on the charter review. I am not going to be a candidate the next time. I would be 83 and I'm not doing it, okay? Just
No, you're not.
Yeah, seriously. But I do want to talk a little bit about the conundrum that you guys kind of are in, because you are now being tasked to look at something that was brought to us by residents. And actually, they were supporters of yours, Joe, not mine, that brought it up and talked about term limits. And so you're not voting on whether you are for or against, it's whether you want the public, the citizens of the Safety Harbor to determine whether they want to have term limits or not. And so I think there's some confusion about how to look at it, because you're actually allowing the voters to vote about how they want to do it, not how they feel about it. And I think it's a difference in how you look at it. And I do want to add one more thing. Commissioner Mers, it did not take you 6 years to get there. You were there long before that. Don't try and fool anybody here. I served up there with you. I know you had it in your pocket long before the end of the first term. But I just wanted to remind you that what this is just putting it on the ballot. That's all all these changes are. It's giving the residents an opportunity to say what they think. And they could just as easily turn it down as they could add it in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon McCauley, 226 Short Street. I agree with what Janet just said. You're letting the residents who requested this to vote on it. It shouldn't just be up to the commission. It doesn't affect any of you, but the residents have asked for it, and there's already a perception or a truth of the residents never being listened to in this town. So I think to not give them the opportunity to vote on this is really, really bad. I don't know if you're going to talk about the Barron Oak Oak Tree later, but I think that also is something the residents brought up, and that needs to be saved in perpetuity. And if it does get to be sold someday, it should be the residents that decide that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay.
And I'm going to say nay only because I wanted the term limits on there. I agree with everything else, so just term limits.
All right. Motion passes 4-1. So moving back to new business, we're going to go to a sidewalk waiver request.
This is Ben Eisel, who represents Compagnon Homes. He's our builder. Tom Macon, Deborah Macon.
We'll do a staff presentation first, and then.
Oh, I thought.
That's right.
Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. We got you. Yeah, yeah. We'll probably cover a lot of it, and then you can take over.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. For the record, Cecilia Chen, Community Planner, GIS Analyst. For you is a sidewalk waiver application for 821 North Bayshore Drive. So the property is located on North Bayshore Drive. Here's an aerial map. So this existing single-family dwelling has been demolished earlier this year, and in August, we received a building permit application to construct a new single-family residential, which according to the code requires a sidewalk to be constructed. So here's a photo of the site. And here is a photo facing northeast, and as you can see, there is no sidewalk alongside this side where the property, where the development is proposed. But there is a sidewalk on the other side across North Bayshore Drive. And here's a photo looking southwest, which is exactly the same thing. And here's a GIS map from our database, and as you can see, there's sidewalk on, there's no sidewalk on the side where the building is proposed, and there's like a consecutive sidewalk. It's like a bit difficult to see, but there's a consecutive sidewalk on the other side within the subdivision. So according to the Land Development Code, the City Commission may permit the sidewalk waiver if one or more of the following conditions exist. And this item satisfies criteria number 6. This property is served by an alternative pedestrian system. So tonight, the City Commission may approve or deny the sidewalk waiver, and if it's approved, the applicant will be subject to a sidewalk fee in lieu payment of $3,000, which will be placed into the sidewalk fund. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm just going to make a stab at this, even though you haven't presented, because I'm very familiar with that area. We've waived sidewalk, we've approved sidewalk waiver requests in that area, so I'm just going to move to approve the sidewalk waiver request.
Second.
Anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Good luck. Thanks for waiting. Could have moved that one up too, I guess, in hindsight. Yep.
Tom Aiken, 821 North Bayshore. We've been here for 2 years, and I'm embarrassed to say it's the first time we've been to one of these meetings. I love the prayer at the beginning of the meeting. I love the Pledge of Allegiance. We love Safety Harbor. We discovered it during COVID. We lived downtown Tampa in a high rise, not far from Tampa General, and when COVID hit, and we had to get out of there. So we Airbnb'd over a couple different places. We Airbnb'd over in Safety Harbor. It was all over. So we started looking for a place. So thank you for that. We actually Airbnb a place on North Bayshore, fell in love with it in the community, and tonight was just reinforced the way everybody, you conduct your business. So thank you, we're happy to be part of the community.
I'm glad to have you here. Thank you very much. Thank you for choosing Safety Harbor. All right. Next business is a state lobbyist selection for fiscal year 24.
Thank you, Mayor. City Commission during the fiscal year 24, well, the budget workshops over the summer for the fiscal year 24 budget, the City Commission discussed the potential to hire a lobbyist to assist us with state funding for this next fiscal year and beyond. The most recent state funding we received was the pending library grant for $500,000, and we applied for that grant in 2019, and it was finally funded in the current fiscal year. We've been applying for state funding requests on our own since 2019 with little success in securing funding. We reached out to the following firms: Johnson & Stewart Government Strategies, Shoemaker Advisors, and Sunrise Consulting Group, and received proposals that are in the backup. The most recent projects that the city has requested funding for are Bishop and Mullet Creek Erosion, Safety Harbor Marina and Pier, Safety Harbor City Park, and Safety Harbor Public Library. We have been told by all 3 of the lobbyist firms that they are looking, state lawmakers are looking for projects that are shovel-ready. So that might be why some of these have not received funding up until this point. We've also been told that we may have to change some of our priorities for what we're asking for based on the priorities of the state, more infrastructure-related, things roads and sidewalks and things of that nature. The Johnson & Stewart and Sunrise Consulting submitted a proposal at $42,000 for the year. Shoemaker Advisors submitted a proposal for $60,000 for a year. However, they reached out to me today, this afternoon, and said that the $60,000 was based off of similar work in similar sized cities around us. but that they would easily match the $42,000 that the other two firms have proposed. So I just wanted to put that on the record and let you know that that was communicated to me this afternoon. We do have a deadline. There's a deadline coming up for appropriation projects in the House of November 14th. The Senate, as of when I wrote this, did not have a deadline for the appropriations project request. So if the City Commission would like to move forward, one last thought. There's currently no funding in the current fiscal year. So if you want to move forward, we're going to have to do a budget amendment, which we would bring back to you, and we would look to start work with whichever firm you selected and get moving so that we could at least get in an APR or two by that November 14th deadline. So we have basically a little less than a month to bring them in, meet with city staff, and see what we could potentially get funded in year one. And then obviously, if this is something the City Commission wants to do, we can put it in the budget, and then we can begin a relationship with whichever consultant you choose, and we can move forward on a multi-year kind of contract and start to look at a future horizon and with some of these projects. Like the Bishop and Mullet Creek erosion, we haven't designed that yet. You have a meeting on Friday morning to talk about that. And then the next step after that would be to bring in a consultant to figure out what can be permitted. And then after that would be design. So realistically, you're not shovel ready in this fiscal year, maybe next fiscal year for that project. So, but those are things we could talk about moving forward. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. I'm the one who reached out to all three, gave them all three the same information, that you were considering hiring your first lobbyist for the City of Safety Harbor, and asked for a proposal and a cost. And none of the information was shared with any of the other proposals until we released it all online for the commission meeting.
So a question I would have, so Shoemaker would basically reduce.
That's what was communicated to me this afternoon.
So it's always nice to see insiders work with legislators. So I just know they're in my building and I see these guys all the time. You got Bob Buckhorn, you got David Jolly, there's a bunch of former electeds. I know most of these guys are attorneys too, but it just seems like Sandra Merman, she's not an attorney, but she was a county commissioner and then a state house rep over in Hillsborough. Les Miller, I think he might have been a state house rep over there after being a city council member. I just think that might want to have people with some sort of inside, but that's just my thought. I know the group, I know these guys, so. Shoemaker.
Just a follow-up to that, there were two 42s and a 60, and 4 items that were listed as potential topics. One would just wonder, is 42,000 cover 4 topics, or, does it expand to how, if they go from 60 to 42, are they still going to be able to cover all 4 topics, or are they only going to do $42,000 worth of work, however it falls out?
So this is new to me too, but my understanding from the 3 conversations I had, I listed those 4 requests as the ones that we put in year after year for the last few years. Whoever we select would guide us and let us know what they think would have the best opportunity to receive funding. It may not be any of these 4 at all. It may be the complete road reclamation project that we talked about that we couldn't fund until next year. It might be sidewalk work. It might be it might be something totally different in the budget, but you know how the budget works. If we get $500,000 or $1 million in one pot, then that just helps free up money somewhere else potentially. So the way I would understand it working is we would start the relationship, we would explain to them our needs, and then they would guide us on what they felt had the best opportunity at successfully receiving state funding. And all three of their goals would be to get us a win as quickly as possible. And what does that look like? I don't know, and I can't tell you, but that would be their goal. But they're going to guide us, and they're in Tallahassee, and they're talking to the lawmakers, specifically the lawmakers that have Safety Harbor in their district, and saying, what can we get through to help the city of Safety Harbor? That's what they do for other municipalities in the area. You know, what has the highest likelihood of getting funding? And it may not be any of these 4 projects that I have before you. I might sit down with them and explain these to them, and they might say, yeah, you're not going to get funding for that. But we see this in your budget. This is what you're going to get funding for. So the first kind of step is to sit down probably at that table right there, go over our budget, go over where we need some funding, and they tell us, okay, this is what I would submit for if I was Safety Harbor, and this is what has the greatest chance of getting some funding.
And so now, in this case, they're all the same dollar amount.
They are now, yes.
So it's just a function of capability between the 3, and one might think maybe one was a little higher because you paid perhaps a little higher rate for some high caliber people, but perhaps a little bit more. So if we get them all at the same rate, maybe that would be a better benefit for the city overall with the Schaefer, the middle one.
Shoemaker.
I'm sorry.
I will say that based off of my conversation, I believe that number was proposed based off of a very close neighbor of our city, that is what they pay for that service.
I'll tell you this. I respect what you're saying about Shoemaker, but I did receive calls from some lawmakers in Tallahassee and they were, and I'm not going to use their names, but they were putting in good words. They said they'd all be good, but they said, I really recommend Johnson Stewart. And these are the people that are currently there. So that's just my 2 cents.
Schumacher's got some pretty big hitters. And, you know, talking about 42,000 versus 60,000, which is with the amount of money that we're talking about.
They would reduce.
Oh, they would
They would
reduce.
reduce, they'd go to 42 as well.
If you move forward, you're basically agreeing to a year. So you can see if you like the relationship within the year, you can see what all 3 of them immediately said, listen, we'll do the best we can, but at the end of the day, the governor has the veto pen, and you might be on the list, but no one has access to that pen. So, no lobbyist, no legislator. Our governor will make his decision based off of however he makes his decision. So they all pretty much said, we'll get you on the list, and then we'll have to see what happens. But from my perspective, it'd be nice to have help. I mean, I hate to say it, but it is a game in Tallahassee. And right now, we're playing it with myself and a few other employees, and we're not getting much love or attention. We're not getting any love or attention. It's okay.
Well, I gotta say that staff has done a great job without love and attention from Tallahassee. You guys have done a good job. Legal too.
Mayor, would you like to ask for a public comment?
Sure. Anyone from the audience who should be heard on this item? Nope. Anyone want to make a motion?
Motion on who to select.
Excuse me. You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Schumacher as our lobbyist.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Schumacher, Shoemaker?
Shoemaker.
Shoemaker. All right,
So
so,
we'll go ahead and, can they authorize me to sign any agreement with them? Because we need to get things out before the 14th of
Because it's
November.
not within your standing legislative, procurement allotment, you might just want to make a motion to allow Matt and I to have final.
I think that would be beneficial, only because we need to get these requests in by the 14th. So you only have one more meeting, and I need to start working with them this week. Like, I'll need to call tomorrow and start working with them. So if we can have a motion to allow Izzy and myself final approval over the agreement not to exceed $42,000.
So moved.
Second.
what was the motion for?
So that we don't have to bring back to you an agreement for $42,000 at your next meeting,
Okay.
so we can start working with them. Because that's 3 weeks from now.
No greater than.
Yeah, no greater than $42,000.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Resolution 2023-23, amending the pension plan.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 2023-23, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Safety Harbor, Florida, further amending the City of Safety Harbor Firefighters Pension Fund previously adopted by Resolution 96-15 and amended and restated by Resolution 2009-11, amending Section 1 definitions, amending Section 4 finances and fund management, amending Section 7 pre-retirement, death, amending Section 8 disability, amending Section 16, minimum distribution of benefits, providing for severability, repealing all resolutions in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. Mayor and Commissioner, this has been reading of resolution number 2023-23 by title only on first and only reading.
Mayor and City Commission, these changes, all except for Section 8, are required to come into compliance with recent changes in federal and state law. The language in Section 8 is not required. However, the Division of Retirement has encouraged local firefighter plans to include the language in the plan incorporating the state statute. The pension board has approved the language, the pension attorney has approved the language, and then we also have our own city pension attorney who reviewed the language and signed off on it as well. So all parties before you have agreed to the language, and staff would recommend adoption of resolution number 2023-23.
Anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this item? Any questions or motions?
I'll move to adopt resolution number 2023-23 on first and only reading.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Next up, commission reports. First up, Commissioner Diaz.
I don't have any reports.
Okay, Commissioner Mers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things tonight, one easy, one very hard. The easy one, very much enjoyed participating in George Weiss's Valley Farms Remembrance on last Saturday. It was a pleasure. I had the pleasure and honor for filling in for the mayor, who was a few minutes late dealing with his sick wife and children, which he needs to do as a good parent. Very nice to listen to family members and other support people that were talking about Mr. Weiss, remembering his generosity and his overall impact to the community. The second one is, obviously, as we discussed earlier today, there is an upcoming election, and I'm happy to hear that Vice Mayor Steingold and Commissioner Bestor have indicated that they're going to continue. I've had a very difficult time in deciding whether I was wanting to go for my 5th term, and I've had some beautiful opportunities with some grandkids coming up and a few things now, and I just want to announce that I will not be seeking a 5th seat or whatever. I'm a little flustered here, sorry. Term. And so I can't say what an honor it's been, and And we'll talk more at a later date. But I just want to let everybody know, especially those that are going to be going now, going after the seat, to have enough time to be able to prepare. So thanks to everyone for their confidence, and that's it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yes. I would just say, I heard a comment tonight that we don't listen to the residents. We listen, and we do a lot, especially Mr. Spoor and staff for the city. Listen and do a lot for residents. So, I don't know. I feel that the city does listen. We try to address issues. We try to make life here better. We try to have a great quality of life for our residents in Safety Harbor. And I would just say that we all need to tolerate each other's differences and get along in this community and stop the hate. Okay?
Yes,
And,
indeed.
my prayers go out to all of the Israelis and the Americans who have been affected by this terrorist act by Hamas. And the same would go when I say we need to tolerate each other's differences, whatever your beliefs are, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim, whatever you are, we need to stop the hate. And I just would love our community just, it's all about love and putting aside our differences and stopping the hate. So Safety Harbor is a great place to live, great place to be, and I think the majority of people in the city, they're all about love and tolerating each other's differences. So that's all I've got for tonight. Thanks.
Commissioner Basur?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Vice Mayor Steingold, for mentioning the Middle East conflict. I don't think that any of us probably have been spared of the details and the horrific information that's been put through the media, and it's just heart-wrenching. But on the other hand, too, it's also very sad to hear that in my former state, in Chicagoland, a criminal attacked a Muslim boy, and his mother killed the boy, and the mother lived. And the passion, what you're describing is that hate, that passion, is understandable if you're watching that news cycle, but at the same time, how? How could the person possibly stab someone who wasn't even there, wasn't even in the conflict? So it's terrible. And I, too, have been focusing on that a lot and trying to make sense of it and really trying to pray about it and just say, what possible way or how can I serve? It reminds me of it's 9/11, really. Our lives are never the same. Every teacher will always remember sitting in the classroom and watching those towers, first one and then the other go. And I'm old enough to remember President Kennedy's death. I was in first grade, and the nuns sent us home on the bus. They were all crying. So there are moments in time, and I think this was one of those moments in time people will just never forget. So whatever we can do to serve others and to help others and to be good is important. And I'm going to miss Commissioner Merce greatly when we were at the Valley Farm event. It's just so nice to have our team and to be there, and then to have our staff create such an event that really brought community together. Talk about listing. You just really did. You choked up everybody, Ms. Garwood, with your remarks about Mr. Weiss. And I also, on a lighter side, want to say that Little League is doing a couple of events, and this is a way that Facebook is a wonderful thing. They're doing a Safety Harbor Little League Booze, B-O-O-Z-E, and Booze, B-O-O-S, and that is this Saturday at 7:30. And it's possible to buy a wristband at the ballpark, but it's also possible to go on the Little League site and do it through something called Venmo. And then there's another event, Saturday, October 28th at 6, Safety Harbor Little League Fall Fest. that's only about $5 pre-sale and $10 the night of the event. The booze thing is $20. And various merchants from Safety Harbor have offered specials and have offered to be part of this. And so that's another community event. And the last thing is that I attended the safety committee meeting as Commissioner Merce's alternate. This is Forward Pinellas School Safety. And October 16th through 20th is National School Safety Week. So everybody be particularly aware when you go into those intersections or you see those bus arms. And there were a couple pieces of legislation mentioned, 2 bills effective in July, about enforcement of bus stopping laws and enforcement of school zone limits. And I need to learn more about this, and I think Commissioner Merce is going to help me. There are companies that help pay for the equipment and then help with policing this and collecting the fines. And so I asked, wouldn't this be subject to litigation the way the red light cameras work? And Commissioner Lightvella was in the room, and he said these are tighter and less likely to be challenged because they'll have a picture of somebody going past that arm, the bus arm, or going through that school zone. And so he thinks that it won't be as likely to go away as the red light cameras did. So that is my contribution for tonight, and thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And I would just say, Commissioner Mers, it's been, we got time for goodbyes, but I will say, I appreciate, knowing you put a lot of thought and deliberation into that decision. And I think that's what is,
Heart-wrenching.
We are going to miss that level of thought and deliberation, which, you went above and beyond. But, I trust you did what's best for you and your family, and, we'll miss you, that's for sure.
Well, thank you. I will miss you too.
And we appreciate the contribution you've made to this city because your impact has been enormous, and it'll be missed.
Thank you for that.
I also want to thank Commissioners Mers and Besor for stepping up for me when I was late for the Folly Farm Memorial for George Weiss. It was a beautiful event, and it was just great to honor a wonderful life and everything he's done for the city of Safety Harbor. And last, I just want to say this: we lost the city. Chamber of Commerce lost a very involved, engaged member last week by the name of Paul Pfeiffer. He owned an urgent care.
What?
Yeah. He, there shouldn't be a stigma around it, so I'll just say it. He took his life. He committed suicide. And it just goes to show sometimes you never know what somebody's going through. I saw him recently at an event, and you never would have guessed. He's no longer with us. He was a very active member of our community. He'll be missed, and it's just something that we should all be aware of, that when somebody's going through something, it's, you never know, and it's just, as Vice Mayor Steingel was saying, it's just more love, and just be there for our neighbors, because you never know who needs it. That's all I have. Matt?
Couple items, Mayor. The tree giveaway is this Saturday at 8 a.m. at Public Works. So if there's any residents out there that are looking for a tree, we got plenty of them. Today is the first meeting that was streaming live on YouTube and Granicus. There's a resident in the back of the room that gave us that suggestion some time ago, and we've tried it a few times, and I've been told that we were successful tonight, so hopefully we can continue that streak. This Friday at 8:30 a.m., you will have your U.S. Army Corps of Engineer presentation, and just kind of to set the table, no pun intended, but you'll be sitting at that table because we're going to have a TV up here, and the presentation will be virtual, and then anyone that wants to be here that are residents will be sitting out there, and then we will do the meeting, and then after the meeting, you'll do an audience to be heard to listen to any of the residents, and then we'll conclude the meeting. I don't think it will take longer than an hour total. It just depends on how many residents show up and want to be heard. So just to give you a heads up there. We're still tentatively on for Monday, November 13th. So just want to make sure you have that, an audit committee meeting at 6 p.m. and then immediately followed by a CC meeting to accept the audit. So if we start at 6 and we're done by 6:30, then the second meeting will start at 6:30. If for some reason we are running a day or two late and we need to move that, I will be reaching out to you because we need to have that meeting before November 17th, which is, I believe, is a Friday. A couple more things. You had an item on your agenda originally tonight, but then it was pulled, and that was the 716 Second Street North. You all had a waiver request for that front porch some time ago. We've met several times with the property owners, and there's a way for them to come into compliance with a building permit and a final inspection and CO. So they have chosen to go that route, and they have pulled their waiver request, so there no longer is a waiver request for that piece of property. And then last but not least, I think I updated you all a few meetings ago that Habitat for Humanity, we're having a slight issue with one of the lots, lot number 9. And as of last week and today, what we're going to do is we're gonna, well, if all parties are in agreement, and I still haven't talked to Izzy about this yet, but the goal is to bring back a amendment or a contract change that excludes Lot 9. And what does that mean? That means that all other terms will remain the same. Lot 9 will be something that the school board and Habitat handle later, which means that technically you'll only be approving 5 lots for this Habitat Homes. And their goal would be to work out the 9th one with the issue between Habitat, the school board, and the southern property owner that has the encroachment. We would be out of it altogether, which I would recommend. And it's probably the best path forward so that we clear up the lease to purchase agreement, we clear up all the other items, we close on all the properties, we receive our portion of the funds to satisfy the lease to purchase, and then there's this one outstanding item which is on Lot 9, but we'll allow the school board and Habitat to work through that, and we won't have to deal with that. So that is my suggestion, and that will be coming back before you in the near future so that we can close on those properties. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Isabel.
No report, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you all. Meeting's adjourned.